Yo, what is good guys? My name is D-Free and welcome back to another Dragon Ball Super video in which today I'm going to be talking about the Resurrection F arc of Dragon Ball Super. Be sure to leave a like down below if you guys have not already done so at this point. And let me first start off by saying I am in no way bashing the series as a whole. I'm not, because I think Dragon Ball Super had a very good Battle of Gods arc, but I did want to talk about the Resurrection F arc as a whole and just how it was a detriment to the overall product that is Dragon Ball Super, in my opinion. So that being said, I did want to also say that it seems like all of the Dragon Ball YouTubers had the same opinion on the matter, and this is a bit of a rehash discussion, and it's weird because I was at work and I'm like, okay, cool, well, Rhyme did a video on it, and I'm like, okay, I'm still at work, and Dr. Love did a video about it, and I'm like, well, okay, so everybody's thinking the same way. So I'm just gonna give you guys my 2 cents. I'm sorry, if there's a little bit of a pattern between all of us, and it sounds like, we're probably just all attacking the arc or the series as a whole, but I wanna give you guys my opinion on the matter. So I will also be dropping in a few days, next couple of days, depending on my availability, a video explaining the top 3 things that I think the Resurrection F arc succeeded in doing well. I think that it did a few things well, and I'm going to talk about them, but today it's all about negativity. So if you guys don't want to hear any negativity, I know I'm a little bit late into the video already, but I'm going to get started right now. So the Resurrection F arc was a conundrum. It really was. There was so much shit going on that was so unnecessary. And, I really think that the arc started off really well. I liked the involvement with Jaco and Goten and Trunks. If you guys remember that episode, I liked their involvement, and how the kids were there and they were messing with Jaco, that comedic aspect. I also enjoyed the little bits that we saw with Goku and Vegeta training with Whis. I love all that stuff. The main problem with the Resurrection F arc is that the pacing, for one, was incredibly fast. Like, if you guys recall in my reviews, I don't recall what episodes they were, but there was a point where they were just dropping time skips and they weren't explaining anything. It was just fucking bouncing around, and if you didn't pay attention, you wouldn't know how much time had actually passed. And that's bad as far as storytelling goes, because the reality is we don't even know when this takes place after the Kid Buu fight anyway. We don't know. So it's like, if you're going to start off at a place we don't know, you're going to skip time continually and a couple of times in one episode and not really even mention it. You have to kind of pay attention to dialogue from the characters to understand that. That's getting off to a bad start. While I did enjoy the comedic aspects and the involvement of Goten and Trunks when they came later with Gotenks and they hit Tagoma and the nuts and shit like that, I enjoyed that. But, starting off with the timeline placement being already bad and them not adding to that in a positive way really just was a detriment to me. I also did not like the way that the fight was structured. I mean, to be completely honest, I haven't seen the Vegeta fight yet because it's actually live today, but the Goku and Frieza fight was just bad, yo. It was just bad. And I'm not even talking about animation. I'm not talking about any of that. Like, just the choreography was shit, yo. The fight was just not an exciting fight. It was not enjoyable. But if you compare it to the movie, which you have no choice to do because it's the alternate version of this fight, the movie was great, and I think that the fight scene, the choreography, everything was great, and it has nothing to do with animation, it has nothing to do with budget. Trust me, we're gonna talk about animation, but at this point, I'm not talking about that. I just mean the fight as a whole. Like, it had no context. It just was not a good fight. It just was not a good fight, in my opinion. It was one of the more boring fights that I've seen in the entire series. I'm not gonna lie. It was one of the most boring fights, in my opinion. It was weird. And then, moving on to animation, because while I don't want to beat a fucking dead horse with a stick, the thing is that when we talk about animation is your connection with this series. It's the way that you enjoy this series by watching it. That's your communication with the series in a sense, because all you really can tell is how I'm not articulating this properly, but all you can really see is, what you get from the animation. And not to compare it to the movie, I'm not going to do that because I'm perfectly aware that, we're working with different budgets and whatnot. But when you're watching a fight and its animation is shit, I'm sorry, it just detracts from the overall experience in the fight. And the fight just wasn't that great. And just when you look at the animation, The fast movements were clunky. They looked really weird. I've hated so much in this series how beam attacks are balls. That's so frustrating to me. And I hate when they are throwing those little ki blasts and Goku's moving his arm back and forth and it looks static as fuck. It looks stiff as hell. It just doesn't look good. And you know, and it just detracts, in my opinion, from the overall experience of the fight. And the fast movements have looked like crap the entire Resurrection F arc. I enjoyed the Battle of God stuff. I'm not going to say anything negative about that, but the Resurrection F arc, it was so poorly done, so poorly animated, you know, so poorly thought out. There was shit like Tagoma being added in only to be wasted in 2 episodes later, so it was a complete waste of our fucking time. Resurrection F arc just took a shit on superfans. That's all it did, if you really think about it. It didn't progress the story in any way, shape, or form. I did enjoy certain aspects, as I said earlier in the video, but there's just too many bad things about this arc. It's just not an enjoyable arc. I do enjoy the character progression we get from characters like Goku, Vegeta, and Frieza, but that's not enough to drag this arc from out underneath the ground, you know, and say, oh, this is actually a decent arc. But that's my opinion on it. I think that overall the biggest problem, which is the last thing I talked about, is the animation and how the animation can ruin your experience with the series based on the fight scene. If the fights look like crap, how are you going to enjoy the fights? Seriously, how are you going to enjoy it if you can't even enjoy what it looks like? If they're moving static, they look clunky as hell, they look stiff as hell. The blurring that they use on the fast movements is just horrible. There's way too much CGI on these characters in general. They look too damn shiny all the time, you know, and off model 3/4 of the time. It's just weird and it doesn't look good. Not to say that any other series has perfect animation. Dragon Ball Z didn't, none of the other series do, but the one thing I can say is that in the Battle of Gods arc, they did fast movements and fights great. Choreography was great with Goku and Beerus, but it seems like, you know, they got off to a good start and completely hit a freaking climax and just started going downhill from there. And I honestly, I was telling Mark at some point, real to real, that when it comes down to rewatching this series, I'm skipping this arc altogether. I'm just gonna fucking pop in my fucking Blu-ray, like, and just watch the fucking movie, because this does nothing more for me. It doesn't. So that's my opinions on the matter. I just think that there was so much wasted potential, because they could have, if you guys recall, I was such a big advocate for them to retell this story. They could have expanded on so much shit, expanded in the fucking universe and explained all these different things. Instead, we got half-ass explanations for things like Frieza's training and Goku and Vegeta's training and how they achieve these forms. We got half-ass shit. So that's my problem with this arc. I want to know you guys' opinions on this arc. If you guys have any problems with this arc, if you guys had any things that, matter of fact, let me make this interesting. Let me know one thing about this arc that you would change and how you would change it. So like for me, just for example, I want more of a fucking explanation on how shit happens. Don't just make shit just fucking happen. What the fuck was Ginyu doing for all these years? Why didn't he do the freaking writing in the sand, change now shit years ago? What the hell happened with Vegeta before Goku arrived? I want explanations for shit, and that's my main thing. Is I feel like Resurrection F could have done these things, but it did not even attempt to do these things. It just gave me half-ass answers that I'm frankly not satisfied with, and it's never going to explain these shit in Dragon Ball Super at any point. So I don't know. I know this sounds like a rant, but trust me, it's not. I enjoy Dragon Ball Super as a whole, but that is it for me, guys. That's it. I was running, I was going like, 50 miles an hour, but peace out, guys. I'll see you guys next time.